I'm going to go ahead and get things moving. We'll introduce Councilman Mark Kowinski, give him a few seconds, introduce the department heads, and then we'll get down to business so that we're not here all night, okay? Introducing Councilman Mark Kowinski.
Thank you, Mayor, and welcome residents to the First District's Mayor's Night Out. This is a nice crowd. It's nice when the crowd outnumbers the staff. So thank you for being here. For any of you who are reading the right stuff, you know I put down a lot of the issues I'm getting phone calls about. So hopefully the city and you are aware of some of the things that are needing attention, as well as bringing some of the things that weren't in there that need attention. I want to mention that the Crime Watch, Whiting-Robertsdale Crime Watch, meets every second Thursday of the month at Cal College, starting at 6:30. And the Pulaski Park Neighborhood Association meets the last Tuesday of the month at the Hammond Mohawks, starting at 6:30. Both ends of the district are represented, and so we're happy to have you attend one or both of those to get current news regarding what's going on in our district. I want to thank Lieutenant Strabavi. We had a orange tag on a tow truck on 141st Street that needed attention. And before this meeting started, he had that car or truck towed. Thank you, Lieutenant. We appreciate the help. Also, earlier in the day, there was a patrol car that was sitting at stop sign corners to apprehend scofflaws and trucks off route, and was doing a great job. He's really helpful to the neighborhood. But one of the things I found out in talking to him, that when I mentioned that there was some cars parked on grass in the front yards that needed a citation or to be removed, he had mentioned that it really wasn't on the list of his ordinances that he kept in his car. So I called Clerk Golick and asked him to do a hunt for me, and by God, he found it, but it was in the zoning ordinances versus the regular ordinances, and it was difficult to find. So I made a copy for the police department, anybody who's here that wants to take that, because that was even difficult for the clerk to find out. Thank you, Chief Short. I'll get it to you. Another thing is we do need some special attention about speeding on Holmen. Holmen in between Goslin and 141st is a school zone where kids cross Sheffield and Sheffield and Holmen, and the speed limit there is 35. That might have to be looked at, or maybe speed bumps or speed tables or a stoplight. The light I put up, the flashing lights that try to regulate the speed at 25 miles per hour, frankly, doesn't work. So we have to look at we either have to look at enforcement or another option to slow people down before we have something unfortunate to happen. Also, I do want to just mention quickly that my heart goes out to the people in Ukraine and the war that's going on over there. And if you can, pray for a quick end to that, to your Creator, and hopefully something good will come out of that. I appreciate that, and I'll give it back to the mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. I want to thank everybody for coming out. We're going to go ahead and start on my right to your left with Sharon, so she can introduce the department heads that are here to answer your questions.
Sharon Daniels, Personnel Director and College Bound Coordinator.
Jason Donovan, Public Works.
Kimberly Fabers, Deputy Controller.
Mark McLaughlin, Water.
Bob Vale, Building Department.
Tiffany Shelton, IT Department.
Andy Short, Chief of Police.
Rob Bunner, Captain of Patrol.
Jeff Smith, Fire Department.
Mylon Krasinski, Port Authority.
Nicole Sullivan, Lost Marsh.
Dean Button, Engineering.
Kevin Smith, Corporation Counsel.
Ron Novak, Environmental Management.
Brian Poland, City Planning.
Ann Anderson, Economic Development.
Africa Tarver, Planning and Development.
Lavita Sparks Wade, United Neighborhoods Incorporated.
Carmen Paniagua, Housing Authority.
Chris Sakalaris, Legal Aid Clinic.
Marty Wolgas, Hammond Sanitary District.
Jack Smith, Sewer Maintenance.
Kelly Kearney, Inspections Department. Devin Wick, Parks and Recreation.
Nicholas Farrell, Code Enforcement.
All right, let's go ahead and get started. I know a lot of you here talked about Councilman Kowinski's column and the right stuff, so instead of just wasting time, why don't we just jump right into it, okay? I have no problem addressing any of these issues. We could start with the issue of the pool. I see some pool floaties out there. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with that. So I remember having a meeting like this some years back. It's interesting that you hold that up, Councilman Mark, because I don't think you're going to like the story that I remind people about. Is we had a meeting in this room. At the time, the city of Hammond had 4 outdoor public pools. Let's think about our pool season, all right? Our pool season for a city is our lifeguards come from kids. They're our college students usually, some high school students, but for the most part, we have to wait until our college students get home to become our lifeguards and to help run these pools. Mylan, where are you? Is that a fair statement?
Yes, Mayor, it is.
How many lifeguards are college students as opposed to, because you have a lot of lifeguards at the lakefront,
Yes.
which is what, mile and a half, 2 miles from Pulaski Park?
Yes.
Okay, so how many lifeguards do you have up there?
At a shift, usually 6 or 8.
And what happens once the kids go back to college?
We close the beach for most of August last year.
Which stinks, because when you think about our pool season in the region, that's really the best time of year to swim. You know, I'm lucky enough, and I know a lot of people in here are lucky enough that they do have options in their backyard. You have an above-ground pool, or in-ground pool, whatever. You know, things that didn't exist when we built Pulaski Park Pool, like central air conditioning and stuff like that, that's more common now, right? But at the time, we were talking about, we had a pool at Pulaski, we had a pool at Mlk, we had a pool in Hessville Park, we had a pool at Edison. And we were losing millions each year, $1 million a year, on chemicals, on heat, on personnel, and that's for 4 pools. So at the time, I made the bold statement that, I found it ironic at the time that I would get a lot of crap from the local media about the Festival of the Lakes and how much it made or lost every year, when really we were losing our shirt with the pools being open every year. And quite frankly, we didn't get a lot of attendance at the pools. You would go by, first off, when they open in early June, I have a pool. It's not swimmable sometimes in June. Still, the water's cold because it was in the 50s the night before, So in June, you start warming up. July, it's definitely swimming weather. You swim through July. August is definitely swimming weather. Quite frankly, September is swimming weather. I swim in my pool. It starts getting bad towards September, like after Labor Day. But think about now, we have to staff these pools with students. And most of those students, when they go back to college, they leave at like August 10th. Is that fair, Mylan? You work with this, August 10th. Sometimes they want to go on vacation before they go back to school, right? So we lose all of our manpower when it's the hottest. It's really the best time of year to swim. I have a pool. I swim in August. I swim in July. That's when I love to be in the pool, okay? So our manpower goes away, right? And we still have really a month and a half of good pool season left. And we're losing lots of money, and we have 4 pools with dwindling attendance, and we're going through a number of reasons why they're dwindling. It's because of a number of factors, because most of our pools were built in the 1950s. They're inefficient. They're leaking water. They're leaking chemicals. We heat it up overnight. You come back the next day, it's 10 degrees colder. A number of reasons. So I made a tough decision as mayor. I said, we're going to stop losing money here. We're going to shut all 4 of the pools down. This was 7, 8 years ago, 6. I don't remember. It's off the top of my head. I'm sure somebody in here knows better than I. But we had a very spirited meeting in the first, similar to the one we're having right now, okay? And at that time, now keep in mind, I'm shutting down Mlk Pool. I'm shutting down Hessville. I'm shutting down Edison. And also, I get approached by Pulaski Park Neighborhood Association and says, please consider saving our pool. Please consider this one pool. We'll shut all the rest of them down. Would you please consider this pool? And I was like, not totally into it, being honest with you, thinking that we're going to continue to waste money. I don't think a lot of people are going to use it. Okay? And I said, okay, let's take a look at some plans for this idea. Councilman Mark was on board, and we started drawing up plans on what that pool would look like. Because if we're going to make a new pool, it's got to be ADA accessible, which the old pool wasn't. So it's going to have to be like zero depth entry, the kind of stuff you see in the new pools, right? And we wanted to make it nice. If we're going to make a pool, let's make it a nice pool so people show up, right? So we had a couple water slides going in the pool. We set up like a little area where kids could play basketball. We had a whole separate area where it was a lap pool. I think it was 2 lanes or maybe 3 lanes. It wasn't a huge lap pool, but the main part of the pool was more for like a kids play area. And then you could swim off to the little lap lane area, right? And we did the cost estimate. It's $3.5 million, all right? Now, we had an $8 million bond that I had to do 4 pools with, all right, 4 renovations. We had already agreed Edison Park with the financial assistance of Councilman Emerson. He put into the project, and we completely renovated his park. It's got a futsal, not a futsal, what do they call it? Like the outdoor soccer with the sport courts. They converted over into a more like a soccer complex. And it's so busy, you'll see kids there playing at night. Way more use in that park than when the pool was there. Year round. Over at Hessville, I had Councilman Rakos and Councilman Warple both put in $1 million towards that project. We shut down Hessville Pool, which in my opinion was the most used pool in the city, unofficial. That's the one I would drive by and you would see 50 people in it sometimes, right? So we shut down Hessville Pool with the assistance of Councilman Rakos and Councilman Warple, who both put in money. We built a splash pad. Drive by Hessville Park. And we also built the skateboard park. Drive by Hessville Park. That park has 10 times more people on a daily basis than it ever had as a pool. We did it with the assistance of the councilman, 5th and the 6th, even though Councilman Warple didn't have to give a penny. He did. The Hessville Park is in the 6th. He did it out of a spirit of camaraderie because it's sort of on the border, right? So I have Councilman Emerson in the 4th donating money to the project. I have Councilman Warple donating money to a project. I have Councilman Rakos donating money to a project. Then we focus on MLK. And we shut down the pool, and we made MLK Park, which is what it is now, which is a park devoted to Dr. King. It's got quotes, it's got a reflection area, it's got a splash pad. It's stunningly gorgeous. Now, Councilman Higgs and I didn't have the best relationship when he was a councilman, okay? We didn't really have that great of a relationship at all. I have a much better relationship with the new Councilman Barry Tyler than Councilman Higgs and I had. Councilman Higgs donated $1 million towards that project to help us improve that. So we would pool that with our bond money, with Councilman Higgs's money, and we did what we did at MLK Park, and it's stunning. I dare say I haven't seen a nicer MLK Park anywhere else. So that gets us back to Pulaski. Whoa, it's all right. It's a good ringtone, gets your attention. Yeah. So we get back to Pulaski and the $3.5 million design that we liked. The councilman wasn't into it. Councilman didn't want to participate with it. The councilman didn't like it. It was too fancy. It was too big. We just want a lap pool just like it was. We just wanted a good old-fashioned lap pool. Too many people will use this one. That broke my agreement. I wanted a pool that would be spectacular. That's why we designed it that way. And I cannot do business with one councilman and say, you don't have to pay anything, Councilman Mark, because you're special. When every other councilman in the city of Hammond's putting money into their projects. If I did that, I couldn't stand here and be your mayor anymore because no other councilman would ever work with me again. So all the councilmen were participating in a project, along with us, along with the bond. And we're getting projects done across the city except for this one. So I guess you got to take a step back and ask, does Mayor McDermott hate North Hammond? Or did something really break down? Because I have credibility. I did these projects that I promised, except for that one. So what happened? Is it my fault? Do I have like an unreasonable hatred to Pulaski Park, or did something break down? So we were going nowhere with that project. Totally stalled out. Councilman was not willing to spend money. I wasn't willing to disrespect the other councilmen that were donating millions. So I talked to Councilman Torres in the 2nd District, who had a project he wanted to do at Irving Park. And I used part of that money to help Councilman Torres get that job done. And Councilman Torres financially contributed to that project. And we did it. That's the story. Now, the world has changed, unfortunately. North Hammond / Robertsdale, Pulaski Pool supporters, the world has changed now. The Hammond YMCA is coming to right by the Sportsplex and building a $45 million YMCA with an outdoor water park. We're not going to be able to compete with that pool. Nobody in Hammond's going to want to go to a small little pool that costs us an arm and a leg when you got a water park down the street, and that's coming. It's going to be 45 million plus. That happened since then. So now, knowing what we know, do we want to spend a couple $1 million on a pool when we know just down the street over here is a lake with lifeguards, and down the street that way is a water park in the Super YMCA?
Take a bus there? Yeah. That we don't have.
Okay. Well, I could tell you guys, and I know this is not what you want to hear from me, okay? But I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not going to build a pool at Pulaski Park. At least I have the guts to tell you, sir. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. The world has changed. And if you're going to punish me for that, I accept that. But don't call me a liar. I'm just going to tell you the truth. We can't, it's not going to work. Now, what do I think would work at Pulaski Park? Something like a skateboard park, like they have in Hessville, that's amazing, that's used all the time. I think there's a lot of things that would work there. And I'm willing to do something with that spot. It's not like what we're talking about in Hessville, sir. That skateboard park's like old ramp. The one we have in Hessville is like poured concrete. It's completely different. Well, I apologize for those of you that think I'm making a mistake. I apologize for those that think that I have this unreasonable hatred for Pulaski Park. I'm just telling you straight up, that's what happened. I know the councilmen that are listening to me right now are nodding their heads because they saw it. They saw that train wreck happening. Yes, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Hi.
What I guess I want to say is that I do support you, Mayor.
I know that.
And I do know that you make proposals that are for the better of Hammond. But isn't it true that the Common Council has the final authority in order to say yes or no on this?
On funding projects, for sure. But the administration runs the parks. The administration comes up and it's approved by the council. You know what I'm saying? And there were some other things in the Right Stuff article that I found ironic because Councilman Mark is part of the city council and the city council also voted on ARP. So let's talk about that. All right?
Excuse me.
Hold on. This is Mayor's Night Out, Councilman.
This is also still the pool issue, and I'd like to respond.
What do you got?
Thank you. Can you hear me? How about now? Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Mayor. I feel a bit like this is a debate team. And so now the other side, if you will. Let me begin with, there are some blatant untruths that were shared with you just now. I've never said I wouldn't commit any money to any pool. I always knew that as a councilman and like the other districts, I would be contributing. I'm still holding on to money in the account for the pool. So that's one. The other thing that I want to mention is this season and lifeguards. Lake Michigan is open water, and lifeguards there have to be open water certified, and they are primarily college people. However, a municipal pool like Pulaski or Hessville can have lifeguards from high school. It's a different situation, and we have 2 great high schools, or 3 here, with some have swim teams. And so there's an opportunity to have lifeguards early on till late in the season if you recruit them and train them for your municipal pool. Regarding cold, how many of you swam in municipal pools when you were a kid, and it didn't matter how cold it was to the kids? They were in there that first day that it opened up. They were there till the end. So those things happened. Also, the pools were old. Maintenance on them was an issue for a long time. When the 600 signature petition 5 years ago was given to the mayor at Mayor's Night Out at Lincoln School, the petition said, just fix it. We'll just fix it and we'll settle for that. Meaning that we'll take the least expensive way out if we can just hang on to the pool for the neighborhood and for the city, because it's going to be the last municipal pool. So they weren't even asking for a new pool at the time, but the new pool design was fine. We didn't have issues on that. We just wanted it tweaked to make sure it was multi-generational, because seniors wanted a space in that pool to be able to do walking laps, and people who really swim wanted some swim lanes, and we haggled about the depth and the length of those things, which is reconcilable. So, things to understand are, this isn't the only city that has or doesn't have municipal pools. East Chicago has 2 municipal pools, Kosciuszko and Washington. Munster has a nice large pool. Hobart, much smaller than us, has a nice municipal pool. Crown Point has the hub pool. I believe it's still open. It's probably as old as the ones we have in our city. Chicago has approximately 90 pools. So we wanted the pool to be kept open with the least amount of cost and making it still disability approved. Another thing that happened is that, excuse me, at the Pulaski Park Neighborhood Association, when the mayor was running for his congressional seat on February 25th, 2020, he was at our meeting. And here are the quotes, because minutes are kept out of those meetings. The president introduced Mayor Thomas McDermott. He talked about several projects. Obviously, I haven't forgotten about Pulaski Park. I'm not going to say it didn't get derailed. It did get derailed. We're still on board, and I think there was a disagreement about the scope of the pool. I anticipate that being worked out very soon. I want you to know the money is still sitting there. We had an idea about a big pool, and then there was some pushback a little bit about maybe it's too big or too costly. But the bottom line is, we floated a park bond 3 years ago to do 4 park projects, and the 4th park project is Pulaski Park, and the money is still sitting there waiting to go. And then, let's see. So we have a lot of good projects in the city with the 4 parks with the bond money. Pulaski Park, I acknowledge that it didn't go as fast. I think there was a disagreement about what we're working towards, but ultimately we're going to get it done. Then, Councilman Mark, going back to the pool, sir, I just want to go on record that I think Innsbrook pool is the kind I want to see. Mayor, I would love to have Innsbrook pool. We're making progress here. Mark, some version of that, sir. Mayor, I think Innsbrook pool is awesome. Mark, and I want to look at that model. I think we know it's going to be more, but let's see. Let's get a number. Mayor, it will be more. See, one of the things we have to do, and I appreciate the councilman saying that, one of the things that has to happen is we do improvements to the pool is we have to have ADA accessibility. We got away with it for years because the pool was built in 1954 or so.
Are you going to keep reading the minutes, Councilman, seriously?
Just give me 2 minutes.
Okay.
So, Mayor says, so the bottom line is, though, when we redo this pool, you'll notice at the Innsbrook pool, you can take a wheelchair and wheel right into that pool. All right, that's what we have to have, and it's going to cost us some money. And the pool in the condition it was in was dangerous, so we need to look at a new pool. So it's just stuff like that we have to fix, and we will. And I know it's not fast enough for you, and I know the other projects are done, and we did get off the track. I'm not going to deny that. But believe me, I love North Hammond. You guys have been great to me my entire career. The councilman has been great to me my entire career, and we want to improve it and make it good. I just want you to know, and the money is still there, absolutely. We have $2 million waiting for it, and it'll probably cost more. And to that, I know I have to put some into it. So that was the last meeting attended by the mayor for Pulaski Park. Then the pandemic came. We weren't doing many meetings. So I just want everyone to understand there's always two sides to a debate. And the neighborhood calls me and talks to me and says they want the pool. And the mayor said at one point he would do the pool. And I have some money for the pool. So the people want to see what can happen with our pool.
As long as we're talking about communication, let's talk about communication. I have regular communication with council. I have every 2 weeks, I go to lunch with 4 of the council people. I could go legally to lunch with 4 council people. If I go with 5, you're breaking the law because that's a quorum. So I could go with 4 and we could talk about things going on in the city of Hammond. I've done this for the better part of 12 years. That's hundreds and hundreds of lunches. I can't tell you one time that Councilman Mark ever accepted an invitation to go to that. Not a single time. And that's important because this is where you discuss things and get things done. He turns it down every time. Okay? Let me tell you something also that never happens. When you go to mayor's night out in a district, I've had council people that show up to every one. It's like their duty, sort of. The mayor's in your district with the constituents. This is his first meeting in the last 3 years. He's missed 2 in a row. I was wondering if he'd be here. I figured he would today. 2 out of the last 6 we checked today. Quite frankly, I call Councilman Mark. I can't get through to him. He doesn't call back. So you wonder why this fell off the track. It did fall off the track. I talk to the council more than any mayor I know. I have an excellent relationship with the council because I work hard at having a good relationship. I go to lunch with the council. I call the council. The council calls me. Some council people have standing appointments, like Councilwoman Janet, Councilman Councilman Spitali. Regular appointments. Councilman Barry Tyler just called up and said, Mayor, could I get a regular appointment on your schedule? No problem, Councilman. That's how you get stuff done. I haven't seen this guy in years. I try to call him, no answer. So you want to know why it fell off the tracks? I'm not taking responsibility for it. I'm blaming the councilman. And I have proof because I got the projects done across the city where I said, except for this one area. So scratch your head and ask, what's different about that one? By the way, Pulaski Park has got probably $10 million in improvements since I've been mayor. Pulaski Park itself, okay? And let's talk about other first district facts. Since I've been mayor, $7 million a year to the Hammond Port Authority. Mylan, is that fair?
Yes.
$110 million just spent in the first district. RDA project that my administration scored for this neighborhood, $35 million. Gaming money has gone down. So let's just say 2 million average because it was more and now it's less. 2 million on the average is $36 million. I just rattled off $180 million that's been spent in Robertsdale since I've been your mayor. Robertsdale, North Hammond. $180 million. Much of it scored by this administration. When I make a promise to the residents, I follow through with it. I did in the other spots, and when this one broke down, I went to the 2nd district, and I did a project there. There is money left over, by the way. But I'm not taking responsibility for the breakdown. And since that meeting, February 2020, something major happened. The Dean and Barbara White Foundation approached the city of Hammond and said, we want to spend $50 million on a brand new Y with a brand new pool and a brand new water park and an indoor pool and an outdoor pool. It's going to be a mega pool. And now we want to build a little lap pool that's going to cost us an arm and a leg. The world has changed, Councilman Mark, since that conversation. The world has changed. And I tell you, I'm not into losing money. That's my job, is to run this city. And I understand that's not what you want to hear, a lot of you. I apologize. I'm trying to do the right thing. But that project didn't fall apart because of Mayor McDermott. I will not sit here and listen to that because it's absolutely not true. And if you don't believe me, talk to any other councilman. Talk to any other councilman that was here. Talk to the council people at large. What happened with that? I know what they're going to tell you. So go talk to them. If you can't believe Councilman Mark or myself, go talk to them. What happened with the Pulaski Pool project? See what they have to say. Ask Councilman Warple and Councilman Rakos and Councilman Emerson and a former Councilman Higgs how much they put into the projects to get them done. Ask them that. They'll tell you. Find out who's telling the truth right now. Okay? So I'm not going to come in here and get attacked. And quite frankly, if I were a councilman and I wrote the article that your councilman wrote, I'd be embarrassed. I'd be embarrassed as hell to write that. Telling you to ask me questions, that should be him. I go before the Hammond Council twice a month, once a month. He never asks these questions. I have to read it in the right stuff? That's a bad councilman. I hate to say it. It's hard to reach him. He doesn't show up to meetings. He doesn't return phone calls to the mayor. He doesn't go to the mayor's lunch. And now it's my fault.
Let me respond, please. One, I've been to mayor lunches, not recently, but I've been to them. Two, I don't know that you have to go to a lunch to have a meeting with the mayor. When I call for the mayor, I don't get a call back to schedule something. So that's what happens. Next, when you talk about the why and 45 million or 50 million or whatever it's going to be, that's wonderful. That's good for the city. However, why requires a membership. And a water park has usually very high fees, and it's across town, and we don't have public transportation. The neighborhood the pool resides in is a low to moderate income neighborhood, a diverse neighborhood, and another thing about pools is similar to little leagues. Pools don't get people in them, especially if a neighborhood is changing, unless you have a feeder program or a training program or classes. When I was a kid and beyond that, there was swimming lessons that made kids comfortable to go in a pool, and the pool was loaded. If you look at other pools in other municipalities, they're loaded too. But just like baseball, you have to feed those things. You have to train people. You have to get them comfortable. And over a generation, you have a good attendance, and you have happy people who come and swim, and families that come to that too. And this is a pool that would be for people who wanted to be in a pool, not a water park, a pool, not a Y, and it would be more affordable. And yes, it is more of a drain on money and resources to the city, but it's also part of a quality of life. And we're looking at maintaining a quality of life in that neighborhood that existed for generations and for decades. So I just needed to get that out. Thank you.
Councilman. And another issue that was brought up, now that we're going to move forward because this whole meeting is not going to be pool night out, okay? Another issue that was brought up was the lead remediation in Robertsdale and the potential use of Clark Fields for single-family homes, okay? I'd like to point out that we had ARP funding that was sent before the Hammond City Council, all right? Voted on unanimously, which, by the way, is a signal to the state that we got our stuff together here in Hammond. We are all on the same page on, it's important right now to get projects bid out because of the manpower shortage. And if we get our projects bid out now, they'll get done sooner. So the $50 million of ARP money that we received, we came up with a list, we talked about it with the council, and there's significant money coming to the Robertsdale area. And Councilman Mark voted for it. All right, so let's talk about what Councilman Mark, along with the rest of the council, voted for. $4 million for Robertsdale lead remediation. Ron Novak, we're running this program right now. I know we haven't run through the $4 million. You did a dozen homes, is that fair? Could you grab the microphone? This is Ron Novak, Hammond Department of Environmental Management. The money that we're doing this project. So if you own a home that's on the north shore of George Lake and you're in an area that has high lead concentrations, we came above what, 200 parts per million was the number?
400.
400 parts per million. We're cleaning your property and bringing it back to the standards it was as though it never happened. Like if you had 2 trees and we had to knock down your 2 trees, we dig out like 2 feet of dirt, replant 2 trees, free of charge. And then we give you a letter from HDEM that says, we cleaned your property. Why is that important? The federal government wants us to declare this whole area a Superfund site. That's a fact. And it's worse for our neighbors, unfortunately. Whiting has a much more serious problem than Hammond does. Hammond, we could pay for this. We could get out of this with our own money without declaring Superfund. I think most of us could agree a Superfund site in the Robertsdale area isn't good for property values, right? So we decided to take this burden on ourselves. And we decided we're going to clean it up with HDEM, with a consultant from Indianapolis, and we're going to clean it up to the federal standards, and we're going to make it so that if you own that property, sir, and you wanted to sell it, nobody's going to buy your property if it's lead contaminated, and they know it. But if you have this certificate from HDEM that says it was cleaned up to the federal standard, we file it with the Lake County Recorder's Office, and you could sell your property. Ron, how many properties have we done so far with that?
12 parcels, 10 properties that there was several parcels that had 2 lots next door to each other.
This is, I think, a great example of good government. We didn't have to do this. We could have sat back. Whiting doesn't have the same options we do, by the way, because their level of contamination with the prevailing winds, think about where Federated Metals is, and with the prevailing winds blowing to the north, and it takes all that lead, this is in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, and it blows it north, right into Whiting. And lead falls like rain. It's heavy. It just like rained into those neighborhoods for decades. So your front yard would have 250, 300 parts per million lead, and you wouldn't even know it. Your kids are out there playing, right? So we have this thing called the X-ray fluorometer that we bought.
X-ray, $30,000, and it determines what quantity of heavy metals you have in your soil. State was really shocked that we had such a piece of equipment. But that determines, we went through the neighborhood where EPA made a designation and tested as many people as we could so that we would know the extent of contamination. We used EPA standards, and in our discussions with both the state and EPA, they all scratched their head and said, we have never seen a city do this type of project. It's typically federal government.
At their timeline. That's the worst part. We could have had them pay for this at their timeline. So in the next 20 years, we're a Superfund site so that we could save $5-6 million. That makes no sense. Let's spend the $5 or $6 million, get it done so that you could sell your house. And they were fighting us. IDEM fighting us. US EPA fighting us. They were like, you can't do this on your own. This is what we do. We don't want to be a Superfund. We want to clean it ourselves.
It's a unique program, but it's designed to really protect 2 things. Number one, I think most people will agree, your health is your most important item. This protects people's health. But secondly to that is your value of your property. This takes away a stigma from your property. So from a standpoint of waiting around for the federal government, if and when, it should be done in several years, and that's going to be a benefit that is unique in the United States.
And you're going to be hearing our neighbors across the border talking about this issue for the next decade. And we're taking care of it now. You're going to be hearing about it. This is a major problem in Whiting right now. And they know about it. The US EPA knows about it. IDEM knows about it. Ron and I just had a meeting with IDEM this week about polyjohn and issues like that. But they know about it. This is a problem, and we're dealing with it with our own money. We bought our own equipment so that we could test your yards themselves. Ron, is there anybody here that actually had that program?
Yes.
I don't know if... Hi, ma'am.
We have a lady that is in the neighborhood that she can tell you.
Your home was one of the homes, ma'am?
Yes, they checked my home, and their evaluation came out as 1,950 on that count.
Parts per million?
Parts per million.
That is not safe.
Correct. So they came out last summer and worked on the property and completed my job.
Front yard and backyard?
Front and back.
Does it look nice?
It looks beautiful.
Brand new, basically, right?
Right.
And then, your grass was replanted, all that stuff?
All the grass was replanted, and any shrubs and everything I had taken out can be replaced.
And then at the end of the day, Ron, you prepared a certificate for this woman so that she could file that. Well, we filed it with the Lake County Recorder for her, right?
Right. We've already filed it with the Recorder's Office.
Kevin, is that true?
Kevin.
Corporate Counsel?
Yes, Mayor. The certificates have been recorded. And actually, if you haven't had a copy yet, it's because we just haven't got them back yet. But you'll get it soon.
We have $4 million. Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate you. We have $4 million. Councilman Mark was part of the unanimous vote for lead remediation. Another thing he was part of a unanimous vote for was a brand new firehouse right up here. That firehouse is very old. We're going to relocate the firehouse closer to the pavilion, further south. It's It's going to be brand new house, like the one. I know we don't get around the city often. If we're in one part, we have a tendency to stay here. But for those of you that have seen the firehouse in Hessville, it's a model off the firehouse in Hessville, which is gorgeous and big, on one level, and the trucks will be able to drive through the firehouse instead of having to back off of Calumet and back into it. It's a gorgeous firehouse. Jeff, you could probably describe it. Chief Smith, excuse me. You could probably describe it a little bit better than I can.
Yeah, so one of the first things we got told by the mayor's office was that we wanted the building up here to kind of look like this building, the brickwork, the features, to go off some of the things that look at the pavilion. So that's the design work that we've been doing, but it will be 3 bays on the front, 2 bays in the back. They will be able to drive through if they need be, but the station's also going to be off about 150 feet off of Calumet. I'm sure anybody that lives up here has had the pleasure of seeing the trucks back in off of Calumet Avenue and nobody stops. People sometimes stop. We turn the lights on. We try to make them stop, and it doesn't always happen. I've seen people skate behind them, go around them, almost hit them. This way, they will be on property when any backing up has to be done. We will have the same pieces of equipment that we have now. Actually, I'm not even sure if the Robertsdale, North Hammond people know, we just recently purchased a brand new aerial truck that is in service up in Robertsdale. We have an engine, a brand new engine coming it's in Cherville, getting a couple things done to it, or St. John, I should say. It will be in service in the next 30 days, I believe. So two brand new pieces of equipment that we bought. There's going to be an ambulance there, which the ambulance is still there. We have a boat that we keep at Wolf Lake. We're going to keep that up here at the station. We used to take it down to Central to store it for the winter. We're going to be able to store it here in case we need to get it across the street.
How much bigger is the new house going to be as compared to two?
Kevin, do you remember the square footage? 15,000 square feet. That's pretty similar to what we have at Station 8. I think Station 8 might have been 13.5.
Well, what's the current Station 2? About a third of that? Third of that?
10,
half?
8.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cramped. It's cramped. There's only 2 bays on the front, 2 bays on the back at the station we have now. So we're going to have 5. It is. It was built in
Yes, sir.
I mean, station.
Yes, sir.
Well,
I agree with you on that.
It was built in 1955. I mean,
that's why we're rebuilding it, sir. And
So-
this is the second house, and we're rebuilding another one in South Hammond that's also covered
you know,
with
it's
ARP.
before Clark School closed down, we were kind of landlocked on where would you build a station. Now that with this whole Clark School thing, I mean, it kind of opened our eyes a little bit. Yep. Yes, sir.
It'll be closer to you.
It's
moving south.
The boat, we got 1 ambulance.
Well, we got 4 in the city. 4 ambulances in the city.
So where's he gonna take us, because the hospital's leaving?
St. Margaret's is going to have the ER open a little bit. Some, you know, they have, I think they're actually changing some of their plans, but they do have the ER is going to be open. St. Catharines, St. Margaret's, we also started going to the new hospital in Munster that's by the Franciscan, that's by the...
They say you got 2 minutes with a heart attack. Now we gotta go and we got...
You don't have to. We could still go to St. Margaret's. That's one thing, it's one thing we can do. We could still go there.
Okay. I want to continue to talk about ARP. The third thing that applies to the neighborhood that we're in right now. First off, I want to thank the elected officials. Okay, I know a lot of them have places to be. Councilman Pete Torres from Hammond 2nd District. Thank you very much, Councilman Torres. Hammond Councilman at Large Dan Spitali. Thank you very much, Councilman Spitali. Hammond Councilwoman at Large Janet Venez. Thank you very much, Councilwoman. Our North Township Trustee, Adrian Santos. Thank you very much, Trustee Santos. And welcome back to our Hammond State Representative, Carolyn Jackson. She got back in town last week. I see, and I also want to introduce our sign language interpreter, Kathy. Thank you very much, Kathy. Back to ARP.
One more dignitary, if I may, Mr. Mayor. Father Eduardo Malagan from St. Casimir's Parish, he's pastor there, is here today too, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Father. Another thing that was in the ARP that we voted on unanimously was $3 million in new infrastructure for the old Clark High School fields. The infrastructure like the storm sewers, the streets and sidewalks that we're going to need to build a new neighborhood back there, which was the plan. I want to point out when I took over as mayor that across the street was largely industrial, a lot of semis parked on Wolf Lake, a lot of just areas we couldn't get to. And over the years, between the Hammond Port Authority and the city of Hammond, we purchased and chipped away at every piece of property and created the biggest park in the city of Hammond across the street that stretches from 129th all the way up to basically Indianapolis Boulevard, with a couple interruptions. A couple businesses still there that are probably legacy types of businesses, but that used to be semis, crates, brownfield, wasteland. We created one of the nicest, biggest parks right across the street on purpose. It was our vision, all right? I can tell you that when Dr. Watkins was superintendent of schools in the city of Hammond, which he's been gone for a couple years now, but he hasn't been superintendent for a while, we had a meeting on the Clark High School fields and talked about the city eventually purchasing those fields for single-family homes, which is something that's in bad need in our city, is the ability to build new single-family homes for young families. That's what we're committed to. I want them to be upscale single-family homes, similar to what we did at the Lost Marsh through the Hammond Port Authority on Dedalo Parkway over there, and we're committed to it. Now, I had a meeting some time back where there was some people that were upset with me. It was the Whiting Robertsdale Crime Watch, where they were upset with me because they wanted that area to remain a green space. And I appreciate people that want more green space. I do. I like green space also. But all along with the Clark High School fields, we were intending to build a neighborhood there of nice homes. And we do have a park literally across the street, connected by bridge. You don't even have to go on the street. You can go over the bridge to get to that park, and it's bike trails galore. From here, you could go anywhere up to Chicago, all the way down to Crown Point on a bike easily and safely. I do it all the time. This is where I come when I work out, and I come from Purdue-Calumet. Purdue Northwest. But there's a lot of other stuff that was in the ARP, but I want to point out that was unanimous vote. It was 9-0. We talked about all these projects and why we thought they were important, and how and quite frankly, the first district got a great deal, right off the top of my head. $4 million lead remediation, $3.5 million for a new firehouse, and $3 million, that's what, $10 million out of the $50 million available. 20% of the money comes here. And that's just out of the first round. The first round was $38 million, so 10 out of 38. 25%-ish of the money that we appropriated, $38 million, is coming here. Really, like here in Robertsdale, for the most part. So I don't want to fight with Councilman Mark the whole meeting. I felt like when I read the right stuff, which I do, I felt like I had nothing, but I had to respond. I can't walk in here and act like it's not there.
It's funny because people who read the article from the neighborhood were happy that I raised all the issues so they knew what was going to happen tonight. And I thought that the city was alerted by reading it too. So I'm not sure where the problem is.
Okay, anyway. Oh, I apologize. Also in attendance, Councilwoman at Large, Katrina Alexander. Thank you very much, Councilwoman, for being here. Sorry about that. And also the former Hammond Councilman, Robertsdale resident, Robert Markovich. Thank you for being here, Councilman Markovich. So anyway, I hope we addressed the pools, the lead remediation, the Clark High School fields. I imagine there's other questions. There's people that want to hear other questions also. I could tell you we started right on the nose and it's 7:18 and we talked about 3 subjects. So I'm going to ask Eileen if there's other questions first off. Eileen, I'm sure there's other topics besides these, right?
There is.
By the way, this is Eileen's first Mayor's Night Out as Special Events Coordinator. Congratulations.
Thank you. First question, can we slow down traffic on New York Avenue and keep semi-trucks off?
I hate the semis on 129th, and I hate it when they go on. This is a pet peeve of mine. We put those signs up on purpose when they shut down Klein Avenue Bridge. And what we noticed when they shut down the Klein Avenue Bridge the first time, that all those semis were using 129th as a shortcut, and then on 129th to New York Avenue, and we put up signs, and it says no semis, and it infuriates me when I see them, and they're still here. Chief, they're still here. I know, this is Chief Andy Short, by the way. Could you give Andy a big round of applause, everybody? Chief knows this is a pet peeve of mine because I called him on it a couple weeks ago when I saw a semi drive right by me in front of the Lost Marsh. This is maddening. They're using it as a shortcut, and it's Klein Avenue. It's the traffic that used to be on the Klein Avenue Bridge, and they're trying to avoid a toll, and they're driving through our neighborhoods.
Well, when you had called me before, I had sent several of the traffic unit guys over there, and I will send them again starting probably tomorrow morning, see if they can get over there and take care of that. And as far as New York Avenue, I got the captain of patrol here, and he's already shaking his head that we will have those guys out there.
I have a couple department heads that live on New York Avenue, and I'm sure they would attest to it. But yeah, that's maddening. When you see a semi going through a small little neighborhood like that, that's crazy. Yes, sir?
We live on New York Avenue, and from the stop sign, going to college to Indianapolis Boulevard, that's their quarter-mile strip.
Okay.
They fly. Sometimes they roll. We walk a dog. We stop in the middle of the road to make sure these cars stop, and they look at us like you're holding us up. It's like, no, you're supposed to stop these kids coming out of the college, making that left-hand turn or right-hand turn on New York. They're not stopping. They're rolling. Everybody rolls through that stop sign. Everybody speeds down there.
You're talking north on New York, going into the boulevard.
Going into the boulevard.
Yes, sir.
And we'll sit out there, and I'm yelling, speed limit, and what do I get? It's
Yes, sir.
Going by. I'm like, really?
That's not nice.
Really?
Right, I know.
I don't know. It's not nice
sir.
to be yelling at them or getting this. But anyways, yeah, the speeding is crazy. It really is.
I'm sorry, sir.
No, you don't have to.
And I'm glad you're bringing it up. By the way, I'd like to point out Dr. Amy McCormick of Calumet College doesn't have to go to these meetings, and she's here right now. Thank you very much, doctor. And it's good for her to be here.
Since they're building these dorms, are we going to be getting even more?
That's a great question, sir.
Traffic down New York? Or are you guys going to go behind the college?
Well, no, I mean, there's no place to go behind.
You can't take that field like we're
like what, old 125th?
Yeah, you can't go back there.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to do better on enforcement, sir. And by the way, the dorm project, Dr. McCormick, I know it's not a huge dorm project.
No, but still, it's just
more traffic. Yes, sir. I understand what you're saying.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you bringing it up. And I also appreciate Dr. McCormick being here. She doesn't get paid extra to go to community meetings, by the way. So I appreciate you being here, doctor. All right. Eileen?
Are the Mayor Night Outs videos on Go Hammond edited?
Yeah. Edited?
Edited.
No. Sorry. I thought you said, are they on Go Hammond? No, they're not edited. Even if I say something stupid, which is quite frequently, they're not edited. So I'm sure Senator Todd Young is probably watching every one of them with interest right now. So.
Issue on Calumet Avenue, just north of the toll road. I made several attempts to get wildlife crossing signs from the State Highway Department. It's been a year now, and they still haven't put them up. We have geese and baby geese, turtles, swans, loons, and bald eagles in this area, and baby geese crossing the road. We also could use a digital speed sign here as well. There has been several accidents and everyday reckless speeders in this area as well.
Could you copy Gary Gleason onto that? I know Gary's back there. And the reason I want to copy Gary, you couldn't hear that. It's a wildlife crossing signs. Like we did that over by Oxbow, where we made signs because we did have like geese crossing, and sometimes people would go too fast, and unfortunately we lost a couple geese that way. And we put up signs just to warn people. And there's other issues to talk about on there as well, but we'll have it copied.
We actually had 3 deer today.
3 deer hit?
3 deer hit by cars.
Where?
Right out here was one. Jason could probably give me more.
So back by, actually between 129th and the toll road, there was one.
Really? That's exactly there. Okay. Okay. Well, it sounds like that's a great recommendation. So we'll forward that to you, okay? Thanks, Gary.
Last question, comment, concern of the night that I have on my end. I called engineering about the striping on Sibley. I was told they wanted to make downtown a no traffic zone. Where are the people who are going to live in the 500 apartments being built on Holmen? I was told the people who will live there will not have vehicles. 500 people and no cars. Also, we need a new hospital.
Great. Yeah, I agree with the second sentiment 100%. And I mean, when I drive around the state and I see all the Franciscan hospitals getting built, it makes me want to punch a hole in the window of my car. I drive down 65 and I see a 10-story brand new Franciscan hospital going up, and I drive to downtown in our own city and I see the same group tearing down our hospital. It makes me crazy. It's not fair. It's something wrong with our country when that stuff's happening, because people who live in Hammond are just as important as people who live in Crown Point. And The hospitals are moving for economic reasons. They're not moving because, they don't like Hammond. They're moving because they'd rather go where people have money and where people have insurance, private insurance preferably. And that's a problem from Washington, D.C. That really is, because everybody in this room is worth just as much as anybody that lives in St. John or Crown Point. And unfortunately, our medical system doesn't see it that way. And it's something that has to be fixed. It has to be fixed in Washington, D.C. And if it doesn't get fixed, what you're going to see in the next 10 and 20 years is poorer cities not having hospitals. Poorer cities, you're going to have to, like the gentleman said earlier, you only have a couple minutes. And unfortunately, if this continues at this trend, if you have a heart attack in the wrong city, it could cost you your life. But if you're in Munster, there's 10 hospitals surrounding you, right? It's just not right. That's an American problem. And I take responsibility for what happens in our city, sir, because I've been mayor for a long time, but that blindsided us. I would have never thought in a million years that an organization run by the Franciscans would do that to the city that they grew up in. It's just stunningly brutal and just not nice. It's not Catholic, not Christian, just mean, economically driven. It's like a bunch of bankers made a decision and devastated us. So I'm with you on that second issue. Remind me of the first issue again. Thanks, downtown Hammond. Sorry, you got me on a tangent. I'd like to talk a little bit about also in the ARP plan that was approved was money for downtown Holmen Avenue reconstruction. It's $5 million that was approved. As a lot of people know, we hired a world famous planner named Jeff Speck. Jeff Speck he works with numerous municipalities across the country, a lot of them just like our city, and had great ideas. He was very excited when he saw our downtown Hammond and had great ideas on how we could change it to make it more conducive to new economic development. And he had great ideas. One of the big assets we do have coming to downtown Hammond is a train station that'll eventually be located right behind the federal courthouse. So Dean, I'm going to have you talk a little bit about slowing down traffic, because it's a shortcut. Think about it. I drive on Holmen Avenue. Just say you're coming from Community Hospital and you get on Holmen in Munster and you're heading north into Hammond. And you go through and you're going real slow and it's 2 lanes, one in each direction. You go north of Ridge and you go real slow, and then you get underneath 8094 and you come over the Little Calumet and it opens up into 4 lanes and you're just like, bang! Put on. You're going 55 miles an hour in Hammond, right? And you do that basically all the way through downtown. Traffic going downtown, we park across the street, you want to go to the Toll Theater, and you're dodging cars going 45 miles an hour right in front of you, doesn't make people feel safe. If we are serious about fixing downtown Hammond, we have to be serious about slowing that traffic down, which may be inconvenient for some people in this room, myself included, because I use Holmen Avenue. When I need to get up to North Hammond or Robertsdale, that's the route I take. So this plan will slow traffic down and hopefully give downtown Hammond an opportunity to have more parking, more economic development, and that's why we that's why we allocated $5 million of our ARP money towards that project. So I'm going to have Dean talk about the lanes, and I'm going to have Ann or Africa, whoever wants to take the lead, talk about the vision for downtown Hammond. So we'll start with Dean.
Thanks, Mayor. So I just spent the last 2 days at Purdue University. They have an annual road school program. And you usually hear about things like, autonomous vehicles. But this year, we were really focused on walkable cities. And Jeff Speck's plan that we did 2 years ago, that was sort of innovative, right? And we weren't talking about pedestrian walking and slowing traffic down, but that's what all the engineers at Purdue are talking about right now, is how do we get people to slow down? And really, Jeff's position was, we got to create conflict. Now wait a minute. I'm an engineer, right? I don't really like conflict, and we try to open up roadways to allow traffic to go faster. That's not what we need to do to make ourselves a walkable community. And so we worked hand in glove with Jeff on our striping plan for downtown. And I know the complaint was really about Sibley. And I know it's sort of difficult to understand or get your arms around right now. But this is something that we really need to do to make it so that we can be comfortable in walking around downtown, right? So on Sibley in particular, we put a bike lane up against the curb rather than the parking lane. That protects the bicyclist from the traffic, right? The risk is now we have cars parked what appear to be out in the street, right? And so people are complaining about, I'm worried about getting my car sideswiped. And then we have 10-foot wide traffic lanes, one lane in each direction. So it really requires the motorist to slow down, and that's what we're trying to do, and that's what we're trying to accommodate. Holmen Avenue, Holmen Avenue reconstruction, it's gonna get narrow. We'll have angle parking in the middle of the street, which you won't see, as you don't see right now. Parallel parking on the sides, and only one lane in each direction. So our goal here is to slow down traffic, to make downtown walkability.
And create more parking, obviously, right? Okay, Ann Africa, who wants to take the lead on this?
I'll take it, Mayor.
Hey, Ann's head of economic development. She's been working hand in hand with Jeff Speck on this project, so.
That's right. And with this master plan that came about 2 years ago, and the train that's coming, we got a strong interest of mixed-use residential in downtown. So currently, we are working with 3 residential developers for 3 different sites for new housing in downtown Hammond, market rate. Units, we have 2 new build up, and then an adaptive reuse of the iconic Bank Calumet building downtown. So yeah, we're gonna have hundreds of new residents living in our downtown, which will be a first for Hammond. But keep in mind that we're working very closely with each developer on their site plan and their plans, and there will be dedicated parking for all of the projects and all of the new residents. So we will not be having a parking issue.
I know literally I walked into a meeting the other day in my office where that was the topic, is where are the people who are going to live in these new buildings going to literally be able to park?
That's correct. We do not want to create a parking problem down
But there's still, so there's going to be reserved parking for the people that move into these developments.
That's correct.
And there's still going to be public parking available along the streets like Fayette,
Yep.
along Holmen, and places
correct.
like that.
Additional-
so
yep,
there's going to be a
additional
lot more
spots.
parking actually when this plan's completed. So
You got it.
I see a candidate for office in here. I wanted to introduce him, Jason Tharp, running for North Township Board. Thank you very much for being here, Jason. Nice of you to come to Mayor's Night Out. All right. Did we answer the question on that? Yeah, hi, ma'am.
That was my question.
Thank you.
When you're coming north on Holmen and you turn onto Sibley, right there is a parking place, and you don't realize it that you have to go over. It's too late. They should have shortened that parking place right there.
Yeah, could you explain what we're doing to change the traffic patterns downtown? And
It's just when you turn off of Holmen onto Sibley, there's a parking place.
oh yeah, gotcha.
And it's
Right.
in the middle of the street.
Uh-huh.
You think that's going to be your lane. That first parking place needs to be shortened. So when you turn, you have
Gotcha.
time to
I see what you're saying.
realize, oh my God, there's a car there.
Okay, I got you. I see what you're saying, ma'am.
This is practice, right? I mean, so we recognize that right away, and we had the engineer put cones out temporarily. But this is a mindset and how we change. I was asked to put a planter out there, and I'm not going to put something out there that somebody's going to cause a crash, right? I mean, I can't do that. And so, and this was by design, right? We want people, when you're northbound on Holmen, you need to take a widened right turn. You don't turn right up on the curb anymore, because we're creating parking, we're creating conflict. Not a lot of people are going to want to park there because they're afraid but some of our own city vehicles, I've noticed, sort of make that turn close, but this'll evolve it over time. You'll become more familiar with this as this moves forward. Normally, when we see a traffic change, like on South Holmen Avenue, the mayor was sort of referring to, you get some complaints early on, but our motorists start to realize and figure out that this is really different, and they accommodate that.
I remember when we did, Dean says we're sort of learning when we do these new changes, and that's a perfect example of that is when we changed Holmen Avenue south of 165th, we converted it from 4 lanes, 2 in each direction, to 2 lanes with a bike lane on each side. And we didn't know what kind of pushback we'd receive from the neighbors. And the only pushback was, can you repaint this area or create more parking in front of the neighbors loved it. I mean, the speed of the traffic on Holmen is down dramatically, and it will be in downtown Hammond as well. And then you get to the bridge, get over the bridge, and then you're still limited now coming up through Hammond north of the bridge as well. So, but
When I was on Sibley, I was like, there's a stoplight right by the Baptist church.
yes, ma'am.
And there was a car, which I did not realize was a parking space. So I was behind it, and the light turned, and I'm waiting for this car to move, and I'm in a parking place.
Thank you for the comedic relief, ma'am.
It's just unusual, right? I mean, where in the world do you see a bike lane up against the curb and a car, a space away from the curb? It's really unusual, but right, like Kevin mentioned, you'll see these in Chicago, right? You'll see these, but it's to protect the bicyclist, it's to protect the vulnerable roadway user, and that's a term you'll sort of hear in the near future, because we were talking about that all about that at road school. VRUs, vulnerable roadway users.
Thank you, Dean. All right, Eileen, what do you got?
Will the Port Authority commit to do timely and regular ground maintenance on Hammond and redevelopment properties in Robertsdale?
Will the Port Authority commit to doing timely maintenance on their properties in Robertsdale area?
Yes, we do. We have over 35 properties that we maintain on behalf of the city, park department, and redevelopment right now.
It seems like-
And that includes, Wolf Lake.
Right.
And we're even cutting Clark's fields now, just because we make a commitment that we think we need to make it look good.
Yeah, and sometimes, and I'm not talking about you or the Port Authority, we get complaints usually in like April, May, when everything starts growing like crazy, growing like weeds, and we get tons of complaints in code enforcement about city-owned properties as well. So I don't think Mylan's the only one that gets these types of complaints. All right, we got a couple questions, it looks like, over here.
That's my question.
Hi, how you doing, sir?
From May through the first snowfall, I have submitted so many 311s, and to get the property on New York Avenue cleaned up.
2500?
Yeah, the 2500, 2400 of New York Avenue.
Mhm.
The response has been petty defiance each and every time. I went before.
From petty defiance from who?
Well, no response,
Oh.
no action.
Oh, it's even worse.
I went before the redevelopment commission and told them this. And again, no response, a petty defiance response. So again, I don't understand this. I just got so fed up in September that I started cutting the grass, trimming, and doing the edging. So it took me 3 days to do the property, where the Port Authority has the machine that can only do it in 2-3 hours.
Thank you.
All the neighbors come and ask, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I have to tell them, this deficiency of the city.
Okay. Mylan? Sure. Sure. This is Africa Tarver. She's Hammond's RDA appointee, and she's the head of planning and development.
Hi, I was at the redevelopment commission meeting, and after you discussed it, after you stated that there was a problem, I did contact the Port Authority, and someone did go out. I mean, you can ask Mylan. Someone did go out to cut the grass. Now, it may not have been cut the way as pristine as you wanted it to be, but we do keep our properties up. We have over 400 properties that we have to maintain with the redevelopment commission. They're on a regular scheduled cutting schedule. And if it comes to our attention that there's a problem, we will send someone out there to do it. But sometimes it does not happen as quickly as you would like, but we do try to address every issue that we have, sir, in a timely manner.
So
Sometimes the cutting takes as long as 2 months. I can vouch for that it is a very long time in the intervals. That's why I asked for timely, maintenance of these properties.
Thanks for bringing it up, sir. Yes, sir. Could we wait for the microphone? Yeah, sure. Hi. Thanks for serving, sir.
You're welcome.
Is that Marines?
Army.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
2 questions.
Yes, sir.
Is Columbia Avenue going to be repaved fairly soon? It's in pretty bad shape in some sections.
Uh-huh.
And then the second question is, whatever happened to Bucky's gas station on the boulevard? Is that ever going to come to fruition?
Oh, great question. The second one, that is in my neighborhood. You're talking about the one by Cabela's. Brian, okay, we got an update. Look at that. It's not very often the zoning administrator, as the city planner, gets questions during Mayor's Night Out. This is a banner occasion. Hey, Brian, how's it going?
Not only just get questions, I'm actually getting your attention
I
so I
love
can
it.
answer.
I love it. This is the first time. So what's going on with Buc-ee's? That's for everybody who wants to know. It's sort of right by the new 24/7 ER that's built by the Cabela's. It's right on the boulevard, like across the street from White Castle, in that area.
Yeah, Buc-ee's was approved by the Plan Commission about 3 years ago, and obviously it still hasn't been built. The Buc-ee's Corporation actually were sold to Casey's, and then of course the pandemic hit and all that kind of stuff, so that project had been delayed. We literally just got within the last 10 days information from the developers working for Casey's about what their plans are going to be, and they're going to modify them differently from what Buc-ee's had been approved, and so we're starting to work through that process at this point. So I don't really have a time frame as to when it's going to actually be constructed, but at least after a delay for a couple of years, it's nice to have some movement on it.
Thanks, Brian.
It is going to be built eventually. Yes.
They paid a lot of money for it, sir. I know that. And then Dean, the city engineer, is going to give us an update on Columbia Avenue.
Yeah, so that's a sore subject to me too, sir. We made an application to the federal government to try to get that. That's a very expensive project because we have some sewer and water lines in there that are aged and large, and a couple of force mains, and Marty can speak to that too. So we have some big infrastructure to replace there. I'm projecting about a $15 million project. So we're going to try to get some federal money to do that. But I don't see a resurfacing is not going to solve this problem. If I just simply overlay that street, it's going to fail again quickly. And so I'm working to get federal highway money for that.
I know, not talking necessarily about Columbia, but we just did $1 million in resurfacing. I know it just went across my desk the other day, and that's citywide.
So we, through the Capital Improvements Board, we're approving $1 million now because we have money in the budget for it. And then when the next draw comes, we're going to go for another $1 million. So we'll have, we usually spend at least $2 million a year on road resurfacing. And we've done an evaluation of all the roads in Hammond and their criteria for which we determine what roads get resurfaced. Because we want to catch them before they fail, before they get to a Columbia Avenue situation. I do believe that we're probably going to add Columbia Avenue south of 165th to about 167th this year, but north is just it's pretty far gone, and so we're gonna do what we can to keep it patched and get some federal highway money.
Thanks for the question, sir. Questions? Yeah. Hi.
Hi, Melissa Farrell.
I know Melissa.
I just have more of a comment.
Sure.
Our neighborhood, which is just a little bit further south from here, has very informal communication. So I spend a lot of time out in the park and in the neighborhood, tending different gardens, picking up garbage, weeding. People like to stop and chat. So Mark is correct. Our neighborhood is low to moderate income. And so while I fully support having the Y come to Hammond, I know that this is really a stretch. Folks in our neighborhood have issues with just getting their kids signed up for Little League. So for a membership to the Y for a family would be about $660 a year, and for seniors in Hammond it's $399. If they're a couple, it's $594. So since this issue has come up again and again about the pool at my meetings, I do feel a responsibility about the issue. And it is going to be hard to go back to the group to let them know that a promise that was made in their presence won't be kept, and that a lot of us have been around long enough to know that when you want a project done, it gets done, and when you don't, it doesn't.
I'm just being honest with you.
I'm being honest with you.
I understand. I'm probably losing votes over this, but I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that we're going to do something that I don't think is wise. I don't think it's wise. I'll be honest with you, Melissa. And the world has changed since that statement was made, and quite frankly, there was a lot of mistruths about the whole thing that led up to that. But I'll be honest, I think it's a money loser for the city of Hammond, and if that's an issue that cost me my job, then that's an issue that cost me my job. I mean, so.
And by the way, anytime you want to put a bridge over any railroad tracks in this area, you won't
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. I appreciate that. Eileen? Wait for the microphone, okay, everybody? We have Go Ahead and TV on. Hi, sir.
Okay. Mayor, I talked to you, I think the last mayor's night out, Norfolk Southern on the border there. It's filthy, as you remember we were talking about maybe a group of us would go over there and try to clean it up, because I don't think the
You're talking on
railroads-
state line, sir?
On the state line, right
Yes,
by
sir.
the Skyway there, going into the Skyway. It looks terrible over there. And then if you look at coming in, going into Hammond by the Indiana Toll Road, that property is filthy too. And it says, "Welcome to Indiana." You might as well say, "Welcome to the cesspool," because it's all filthy, dirty over there. And also by all the Luke gas stations along the boulevard there, all back in there. I was just by there today. It's just full of garbage and bottles and everything. We're even where you cut the grass, where Milan cuts all the grass, right before that, there's garbage all over the place. It's just unbelievable how bad it is. So I don't know what we can do is maybe get groups or get kids to come out and help and try to clean up the neighborhood, because it just looks deplorable.
Thank you. Mylan, could you talk about that project?
Sure. So the mayor's tasked the Port Authority to begin looking at putting up an Indianapolis Boulevard screen wall. So we're going to look at, I know it's not going to stop the garbage from flowing from the mall across the street on the south wind, but it'll mainly be caught along this wall. So you're not going to be able to see a lot of everything behind the hills and all through the area all the way up to state line. I know what you're talking about. The yard there, the coal hour yard, is a mess. It looks horrible when you're leaving Hammond and going into Chicago. And you're right, the toll road property as you're coming into Hammond has issues as well. We'd love to have a lot of staff be able to go out there and clean, but that's a lot of time and man and woman hours that we spend doing that kind of pickup. We have to do the pickup on the hills before we cut the grass, or we run into problems with the grass cutting. So I agree with you 100%. There are issues. Yes.
Suzette?
Hi, Mayor. Question for you regarding the redevelopment downtown, Ben Kelly Met Building.
Sure.
Is that going to be condos? Is it going to be rentals? Is it mixed use?
Thank
and
you.
what's the price point that they're going to be?
Good question.
Ed, as a real estate broker in the area, I do a lot of business here. I'd like to know what the plan is for that.
Thanks. Ann?
The planned 100 units at the Ben Kelly Met Building will be market rate rental apartments. The mixed use element will be on the ground floor and the lobby area. They're hoping to have some retail and commercial there as well.
So it's all rental, there will be no condos?
No, all rental.
All right.
All three developments will be market rate rental units.
Hi.
I read the master plan, and it said that the condos would be rented at $1,900. I have a written copy of that. So is that what you consider the standard, market rate?
Well, I'm not a real estate developer, so I don't know what market rate is. I believe they figure it out per square footage. So condos, as you know, are owner occupied. These will be rental units, market rate rental.
Hi, sir.
Oh, okay. As a follow-up to the concern about the litter along the boulevard, I agree with that.
Yes, sir.
And that blends it perfectly with the development at the Clark Field. Now, I could only imagine the commercial development and the apartments adding to that litter problem. And I know you said that it's pretty much a done deal. There were meetings and it was all said and done, but I don't think anyone from the community has any input. And the people in the community that I've spoken to have a great concern about that commercial development across from a park, actually between two parks, between George Lake and Wolf Lake.
Right.
They think that a commercial development is not supposed to be there.
You mean the residential development?
Well, you said you were going to have 4-story condos along Calumet Avenue.
No, I'll be honest, sir. We're looking to have townhomes along Calumet.
Yes.
There was some thought for a while of having like an upscale apartments, and we retreated from that. So we want to focus on townhomes fronting Calumet. So if you look out your front door, you would see Wolf Lake, basically, and you'd probably pull in from behind the townhome, and then behind that would be single family, sir.
Yes, and so these plans...
And could I also ease your mind also? Everything we have to do has to go through zoning, subdivisions, all that. We still have to go through all the public meetings, sir. None of that started yet. The only thing we did was allocated part of the ARP money towards the infrastructure costs of that project. We still have to go through all of our public meetings where you could show up and express your input, sir.
Okay, and that's great, so that we'll get a notice in
Yes,
the
sir.
Times or something like that, that everyone
Brian,
can attend?
2 times. Brian, what kind of notice will we give to the public so that everybody realizes that we're discussing these issues so that they can provide input?
Yeah, when it comes to whether it's a subdivision process or a zoning process, all property owners within 300 feet of the boundaries of that subject property are sent certified letters notifying them of the date and time of the meeting. And at this point, planning commission meetings, and I think most public meetings, we also have...
Brian, that, like anybody that lives anywhere near 121st, everybody in that area will be notified, obviously.
Yeah, whatever the 300-foot limit is, because that's the north side of the street is what, 122nd?
And do we publish that in the local papers?
Yeah, well, it's a legal notice also in the newspaper.
And on Go Hammond website?
Yes.
So, sir, when we're talking about the neighborhood, it's all conceptual at this point. It is.
And that's exactly why we would want to get in on,
Yes, sir.
on the concept before it becomes concrete, because I see the utility poles are being delivered, and I see that construction's just about to start, and I think to myself...
No, sir.
Ooh, nobody got to say
That
anything.
has nothing to do with that project, sir, I promise. That project's all in the air
It's a
still.
NIPSCO relocation.
Okay. I promise you, there's been nothing other than ARP money allocated towards that project. That's the only thing that's been done.
Very good, and so the community
Okay.
still wants to have input.
I love
because
input.
that's in our backyard.
Yes, sir.
And it's
Totally
between
get it.
2 lakes. And when you talk about notifying all...
And you were the
residents-
gentleman that had the discussion with me at Whiting Robertsdale, right?
Absolutely.
Thank you. And I'm glad I remember that.
Yes.
And I remember, I appreciate you. I appreciate your concerns. That's what this is all about. That's why we're here. Look at the number of people in here. That's people that love our city and that care, okay?
And that's why I want to make sure that we get some input. Because
Promise you,
it's
sir.
in our backyard, it's between 2 parks, and it's going to affect us for the rest of our lives.
Yes, sir. Totally agree.
And we want it to be positive.
I want it to be a beautiful neighborhood, sir. I want it to be beautiful. And I'd like to live there. I'd like to be able to jog out my back door and be on George Lake Trail. I think that would be an amazing place to live.
And that's a good thing, but I don't want your backyard up to the George Lake Trail. I
We
don't
could
want
talk.
you grilling.
We could talk, I promise you. Okay? I get where you're coming from. And there's been no, I couldn't even tell you how many lots. When people ask me how many lots, I say it's like 100. Which is it?
We don't even know that.
I always exaggerate high, I'll be honest with you.
No, until the community puts their input. And then you could say, hey, the people think 100 lots is too much because everybody has 3 cars per family. That's 300 extra cars in the neighborhood. Then you could say, okay, what do you think is appropriate for this neighborhood? And I appreciate you putting that notice out so that
We will,
can
sir.
do that.
We legally are required to, but we want to do it just because we want to be good public servants for you. Thank you. Hi, ma'am.
I just wanted to know, is there a projected start date for that? The new house is being built, or?
I don't believe so.
No.
Anybody know? Who? Have we even bid it out yet, or? And you're talking about the infrastructure work itself, right?
Right, so
But to do
we're doing the land
infrastructure-
plan right now, we're sort of planning what lots, what alternatives we're sort of putting together. We just hired an engineer to put the concept together. We're looking at 3 different alternatives for layout of that land plan.
And it sounds like we have a lot of work to do with the neighborhood, so that
Sure.
they feel like they're comfortable with what's coming.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd hate to have to lay a sewer only to have us say we don't want to.
Yeah, so, Yeah, so land plan will come, design will come with a subdivision. We probably won't break ground until next spring, right? So a year, 2023 spring would be as early as we would start.
Hi, Carolyn.
Hi, Mayor.
I like your glasses.
Okay, all right, I won't.
I like your glasses.
Oh, thank you. I was following Polyjohn, and you mentioned Polyjohn.
Yes, ma'am.
And I was very happy that they were fined over $11,000 for the pollution that they caused.
Yes, ma'am. I wish it was more
George
personally.
Lake. I wish it was 50, 60,000. But I'm not in the secret meetings. You're in the secret.
No, I'm not,
meetings.
ma'am. We find out when you find out, Ms. Marsh.
Well, you can find out, because I find out some things, and I'm nobody. You know, I'm not an elected official. If your staff wanted to find out, you could find out, because you're part of the decision.
Well, when did you find out about that? Hammond Department of Environmental Management.
The state signed a order with Polyjohn that has a fine and a compliance schedule. The problem is that the state would not allow us and share any of that information with us, but they have basically told us they are negotiating back and forth with Polyjohn several times in regards to coming to a final state settlement. The state has told us two things. Number one, the city owns the property, and only the city can protect its interests. So the state settlement is one thing. Any settlement with the city of Hammond would be a separate issue. And that deals with both the settlement and any cleanup that would take place. Essentially, as the property owner, we have certain rights. Getting into the details, I wouldn't tell you anything until I saw what the final settlement from the state was. Did it meet our needs or did it not meet our needs? But no one can go on that property to do anything in regards to remediation unless we approve it.
And I could tell you, my position on Polyjohn, it's a relic. It doesn't belong there. It was put there a long time ago, and it's operating as though it's still 1950. And it's not in the right location. If there was something I could do to relocate that to another part of the city where it'd be more appropriate, I'd do it in an instant. And I don't think they're very good neighbors.
Well, you know, you have the George Lake wetland, which is a federally protected wetland. This is not a local issue. It's not a Robertsdale issue. It's not a little. It's a federal issue, which means it's a federal, water, which means everybody should be concerned about federal wetlands, and it's federal money.
Yes, ma'am.
Item went in there. I have this. I have the compliance that Polyjohn agreed to. I have the sheet of compliance. It's got a date on it. Got it today for this meeting, and it has also the fine that goes into the item fund, a special fund. Now that doesn't mean you can't go in there and sue too because of George Lake. But this is where this community needs public comment periods. We need to have public meetings on these things. These issues are so complex, but they're so important. When you have federal wetland, you have a wolf lake, and you need to have community meetings just on those subjects. And I have asked Calumet College to have a community meeting on it. They have refused. They didn't answer the reply. So we're being locked out. The feeling is we're being locked out. You start all these projects, you start all the works without the community input. Now, I know what the zoning is, but zoning can change according to what the community wants. To populate the area is not good. It's just crowding and it's more pollution. We have to protect the natural areas. Now, also I've got the lab reports on the deaths of the trumpeter swans, and I have yet to make that public through the Swan Facebook, which I'm ready to do. Do you have the lab reports on the 2 trumpeter swans?
I don't believe so.
From the state. Okay. Well, I have it, you can have it. If I get it, you can get it. But what I'm really concerned about is that we have to have more green space. This crowding up and all this cars and pollution isn't helping the community. And I think that taking out all those industries along Wolf Lake was excellent.
Thank you.
But I have a question from somebody else, Mayor, if you allow me. This is a woman that has surgery and she couldn't make it. She's from
Sure.
Robertsdale. Can I
Sure.
ask it? All right, this is from Annie Taylor, and she says, ask the city, if the city builds a new subdivision in Clark High School field, then where will a helicopter be able to land to airlift someone critically hurt out of Whiting and Robertsdale? Clark Field has been the place for many years. Most recent was last year when a guy at Walhalla got his foot severed in a boating accident. Medics made the call to immediately airlift him to Chicago. So this is her question.
No problem. We'll answer it right now. Jeff?
We have 3 designated landing zones up north here. Clark Field is one of them. Mylan, what's that property called where the helicopter used to land at the casino? The lot in the back?
Their training area.
The training area. We land there.
What training area?
It's off of Lake. If Lake Avenue would continue through, it's to the east of Lake Avenue. There's a big parking lot. It's in the back.
And the third is? All right, come on. We're not going to be getting yelled at from the audience, okay?
The parking lot down here.
Okay.
At the base.
Thank you. All right.
Down here.
Right behind
Bottom of
it.
the marsh.
Right behind you. Thank you. All right. Gentleman right here.
Yeah, I have a question for code enforcement.
Sure.
Is there a city code?
I think, honestly, sir, before you ask that question, this is probably the first mayor's night out code enforcement ever didn't get a question, so I appreciate you asking. Kelly Kearney?
A homeowner to have a certain size fence when he has vicious dogs that's already been proven to attack somebody?
I would think that 6-foot fences are probably required, or I don't know. Is that an ordinance, Kelly?
Yes, it has to be tall enough that the dog cannot get over.
So like a 4-foot fence wouldn't work?
And unless it was a Chihuahua. Something that
Unless it was a Chihuahua.
Unless it could, so it can't get its head over the fence.
Rottweiler and that's like German Shepherd Pit Bull mixed. And
In the front yard?
4-foot fence.
4-foot front yard fence or backyard fence or both?
Just on his side.
Okay.
And I cannot.
Are they getting out?
Weed whack. They're up. Their heads are hanging over the fence.
That's not right.
And comes over. It can.
You don't want to find out if they could, right?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
When the dogs are out.
Okay.
It's scary.
Could you call my office in the morning? Do you mind? 853-6302? I mean, if just call the mayor's office in the morning. Sharon, one of us will answer the phone, give us the address, we'll follow it up tomorrow, okay? They're not going to be happy, but I agree with you. Agree. Sorry about that. We'll follow it up tomorrow. Well, yeah, we'll forward it to animal control, but it sounds to me like it's a code / maybe zoning type of issue. I don't know, but
also animal control.
Yeah, I was just going to mention we had an issue similar to that over on Wildwood in South Hammond, and there's actually a mechanism for addressing that for the Board of Public Works and Safety. So if we'll make sure to get your address after, and we'll get it over to animal control. They'll look into it. And then if the city attorney's office or city attorney Kristen Hill handles those, and I'll make sure she gets that information as well.
animal control is run by the Hammond Police Department as well. We're getting all the information, okay? So we'll follow it up tomorrow, sir. Sorry about that. Hi, ma'am.
Mayor.
Yes, sir. Oh, hi, ma'am.
Real quick,
Yeah.
could I take a 1-minute commercial break for us?
Yeah.
Okay, it'll lighten things up a little bit, maybe.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I hope so.
I'm skeptical. But
Like,
let's
I
see.
know, well, you know, I'll be okay. Calling all Hammond residents. The Hammond Port Authority cordially invites you to apply for summer seasonal work. We have jobs available at all of our locations, here at Lost Marsh, over at the marina, and at the parks, the 35 properties that we try to take care of. We're, like everyone out there, we're in need of people that want to work and make a few bucks. So if you have neighbors, kids, grandkids,
Even high schoolers, right?
Oh, yeah, we do. We,
High schoolers?
17 and 18-year-olds are easy to employ. They
And they make
follow.
good money, right?
Well, that's where the funnel come in. When we sat down a couple of years ago, you said, Mylan, 725 is not going to make it. So in the middle of a summer, the mayor said, offer them 10. Okay, so it's $10 an hour. So that's what we're starting them at. So some kids have been with us for 3 years. They're up to $11.50 an hour. So we give 50 cents an hour raise every year. Lifeguards and sailing instructors start at $13.50 an hour and go up from there. So lifeguards we try to take care of as well.
Thanks, Mylan.
Sure.
I don't think it added to the levity, though, but we'll run with it. Yeah. All right, who's next? Hi. Hi, sir.
Good evening, Mayor. The speed bumps, can we get those back in Forsyth Park?
Speed bumps in Forsyth Park. Whatever happened to
They
speed
took
bumps?
them out to snow
Yeah.
plow.
Right. Well, Gary Gleason, when's the snow going to stop? What day in May?
That's why they were lifted, right?
That's
Because
all.
of the
Yeah.
plows?
They're going to come back in.
So
They
you're
will.
seeing cars go faster?
And the non-compliant want to go through the park.
Of course they do. Yeah. They don't care. They go through the park on the grass.
The
Yeah.
baseball games end and
Yeah.
everybody's in
I
a
know.
hurry to
We-
go to Dairy Queen.
Yeah, we try to slow it up for safety reasons. I mean, that's our friends at the ball fields. That's the reason why we slowed it up. Yeah.
And
Right.
the traffic on Calumet north of the toll road, that turns into a drag race still pretty
Yes,
good.
sir.
We have seen some patrol out there, but that's a 60-mile-an-hour strip there.
Yep. It's a drag strip, for sure. Thank you, sir. Great questions and great points.
Thank you.
Right over here, Mayor.
Hi.
Hi, I have a follow-up question with the development of Clark football field.
Sure.
Since you say infrastructure will be starting soon, are there going to be water table studies done?
Oh, yeah, all
So
that.
I know that my house won't flood on Davis Avenue.
Yes, ma'am.
Since they're going to be digging basements and
All
stuff.
that
And between
stuff.
two bodies of water, what's going to protect my property?
Right, Dean?
So Robert Steele's separated sewer system. So we have a separate storm sewer system and a separate sanitary sewer system. That new development will include those sorts of infrastructures. I would not expect you to see increase of water level in your basement. Right. I don't expect you to see any water in your basement. Yeah. Because
I don't want
separated
water
sewer
in your
system.
basement either, ma'am, I promise. Okay, Carolyn Jackson has a question also. So we'll be with you right next, sir. Representative, how you doing?
I'm fine. As you all may know, I also serve on the environmental committee downstate. And I just wanted to say the environmental department has been really, really suffering fund-wise. But apparently within the past couple of months, they have been able to work towards hiring an individual, and that individual is going to be working up here in Northwest Indiana. Due to your efforts, Mayor, and other individuals here, along with myself, they realize that we need someone here who knows our community, who knows what we have to deal with, and that person will be working right here in Valparaiso. I just got the email like 20 minutes ago saying, do you know anybody who would be willing to be program director for the IDEM? So if anybody knows anybody who would like that job, or you want me to share with you the job description, I'd be more than happy to.
Thank you, Ms.
Because for us to get that individual up here, that is something that is much needed.
Yes, ma'am.
And it should have been here long ago. But as you know, when it comes to the state, anything that you get, it takes forever. So I just wanted to make that announcement. So hopefully some of our issues will be put to bed.
Thank you, Representative.
Thank you.
Yeah. And the gentleman.
Hi, sir. Hi.
I'll sit down because I'm taller than you. Hey, I'm excited about the Clark Field project, but could someone maybe give us an idea what the plan is for the actual school building itself?
That's a great
is
question.
Sitting there vacant and unoccupied
This
with
is-
the lights on and the heat on, et cetera.
I appreciate your question. It's because Gavitt is similar. Columbia School is in a similar situation. I think there's a couple other schools in similar, Lafayette schools, similar situation. Because of a ridiculous state law that was passed way before Representative Jackson got into the General Assembly, it was designed to protect charter schools. And our Republican supermajority loves charter schools so much that they said, if a school corporation ever has an excess building, which is Clark High School, Gavitt, Lafayette, Columbia, they have to offer it to a charter school for $1. And if the charter school says yes, they buy it from them for $1 and then compete with the school city of Hammond. Now, we think this law is unconstitutional. The school city of Hammond is amongst a number of communities that's fighting against that law right now. But the reality of the situation, sir, is we're the victims. We have to sit here and look at Clark High School deteriorate and look at Gavitt High School deteriorate and and that's the repercussion of a dumb law that was passed downstate. I wish I could tell you, sir. They passed a law and it was signed by the governor. So our job in the courts, well, the school city's job is to get that law declared unconstitutional. And the moment it happens, we're going to take it and we'll do something, and we'll be working with the community so that it's great and everybody agrees that we all love it together, because you live here and I don't, okay? But let me tell you something that we did that's smart, okay? If there's ever a school that's going to go to Clark High School, I imagine it's going to be fairly big if some charter school is going to buy it, right? And the law says the school city can't sell us the school building, right? But didn't say anything about the parking lot. So City of Hammond buys that parking lot, and we're developing it as we discussed earlier. So if that charter school does come along and try to buy that building, where the heck are all these students going to park? There's not that much parking up there, as we all know. We have a similar situation going on with Gavitt High School right now also. Purdue Northwest is involved with us on that proposal. Very similar type of approach that the city's taken with the school city on that maybe the city of Hammond acquires Gavitt Fields, right? And maybe even 3/4 of Gavitt's parking lot, so that if Gavitt ever is turned into a charter school, where are you going to park? So they pass a dumb state law that's affecting us, and we have to watch these buildings deteriorate until it's overridden. But in the meantime, we're making it nearly impossible for a charter school we don't want to see a charter school come in and take more students from the school city of Hammond. I think the superintendent's doing a good job, and I don't want to hurt him in any way. So I hope that answered your question, sir. It's a frustrating thing for us. Thank you.
Hopefully, Mr. Mayor, I got an easy one.
Hi, sir. Okay. Okay.
Please don't do that.
Don't do what?
Please don't threaten to put a parking lot or to take over. We are lacking schools in Indiana.
What are you talking
overall.
about?
The whole situation of the charter school being, I'm not sure. I'll follow up and see if they're actually trying to buy it for $1. I was under the impression that you already owned Clark School.
That's not true.
Okay, but if you're gonna go ahead and build on their parking lot, and if there's an opportunity for any school to be available for these children, please.
I'm not in charge of that.
Don't make it impossible.
Ma'am.
Because there needs to be more
Okay.
schools here.
Okay, I
in
appreciate-
this area. We
Um,
lost a lot. The kids are
Okay,
suffering. and
but
you
you're
know-
complaining to the wrong person. I'm not in charge of the schools at
I
all.
understand, but you just made a statement that was a little bit malice. If you think about
was what?
You would make it. Where are they gonna park? Well, I live in that area, 2 blocks away. I thought my child would be going to high school there, but unfortunately, it's not. You want that property. I could care.
That
less
high
if
school was
it's
shut
a
down by the
charter
school city of Hammond, ma'am. I had nothing to do with that.
Education is one of my biggest, we really need more schools here. You're closing them down, and just the thought that you would say that where are they gonna park now? That's not nice, Mayor. That is not nice.
Okay.
Let's get some more schools and some more hospitals. Let's get some stuff for the community, and stop thinking about, bringing other people. Take care of the people who are here now. Get them some bus transportation. Do some things for the people that are here right now.
Okay, thank you.
Please. and don't hurt with the school. The schools are a very sensitive topic to me.
That school's shut down.
It is.
Right.
I know.
It's
I
shut
was the one
down
that-
because of a decision I had nothing to do with.
I understand.
In fact,
that
I
it was
actually
shut down.
campaigned real hard so that we could pass a referendum and build a new high school. I was,
understand, Mayor. All I'm saying is that the schools, they're in need right now, and what we need is schools. So if you ask the community what we want, do we want 100 houses or condos or apartments? I'll be quite honest with you. I think that there's a lack of education, and we need more schools. We need more we need to increase education in Indiana. The kids are not even at 50%. So that's all. Mayor. Your statement about the parking lot, I thought it was unnecessary.
okay. Hi, sir.
Hi, Mr. Mayor. This is an easy one, hopefully, and hopefully I'll wake Mylan up.
No.
I went to go to an event over here that you talked, these nice parking lots. Me and a couple other people that are handicapped went to park, and they said, oh no, you gotta go to this end of the parking lot. That's designated for handicap. Shouldn't the handicap be towards the front of the parking lot?
Seems like it.
And also, if you're not gonna have a swimming pool, what's gonna be done with that property?
That's a great question.
Like not,
First,
we just gotta walk, me and this guy on crutches, we had to walk the
Those
width, you know,
two
the width of the
questions.
parking lot.
first off, I agree with you. Handicap parking should be close to the event. I'm not sure why it's not, Mylan.
No, I mean, we have it designated close to the pavilion right now.
Okay.
Was this at an event at the
Lot-
pavilion?
Is that lot C or whatever? Or what's
No.
the lot right across? If you go there, the handicap is on this end of the parking, the pavilion and everything is on the other side.
Okay. I'll take a look at that in Lot C.
It might have been an employee mess up, sir, like an employee that wasn't aware.
No, not our employees.
Lot C is the south one, right? Yeah, because.
All right,
in that
questions?
lot, that's where the
Yes, sir. How you doing?
Good.
Thanks for coming.
I was looking for confirmation. It's stated on the Hammond inspector's website that homeowners are not allowed to do work on their own house, including maintenance, over $500. I was looking for clarification. Is that correct? And do you think that $500 is a reasonable limit?
Doesn't sound reasonable to me, so let's check.
It does not sound reasonable.
Agreed.
To get a homeowner's permit, you have to establish residency. In this particular case, the gentleman does not have residency yet. He does have a homeowner's permit for some work that was done on the building side of it, on HVAC. There's no permit for.
I was told by David, he did the plumbing inspection. He's actually the electrical inspector, so I'm not sure why he was doing my plumbing inspection. But I was told by David that I needed to put in a return into each of the bedrooms to increase airflow. He never mentioned a permit, and the materials cost less than $500 to do this. It was listed on the website that if I was doing something under $500, I didn't need a permit.
Okay.
And I was never told by the inspector that I did, so.
Did they put a stop order on it or something,
They did,
sir?
and I'm being told that.
How long ago did that happen?
That was last Friday.
I apologize. Could you call my office tomorrow and we'll follow this up?
I called last week, and I think I talked to your secretary about it.
Okay. You have the message still?
Yes, and I've been working with Kelly and the building department.
All right. I need a copy of that. Kelly, what's going on?
Bob is a little more aware of the situation that's going on.
Okay.
There's been some communication.
I've probably done more than $500 worth of work on my own house.
This is a situation where it's HVAC. It's going to have to be installed correctly. It's going to be inspected, and you're not going to get an inspection without a permit. So this is a situation is where can he get a homeowner's permit? And there's some other outlying issues on it, Mayor. The letter, email will brief you. Bob sent it this morning. You should be getting. Sharon has it.
I got the email this morning.
Okay. I'll follow this up tomorrow, sir. I appreciate you buying a house. I appreciate your, being able to do this work yourself. I gotta get heavier on the situation. Yes, sir. Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Yes, sir.
$500 doesn't seem like a reasonable limit to me.
I agree with you.
You go to Chicago, no permit for re-roofing. I had a roofing inspection. The guy just drove by. I paid $100 and I think $45 for the privilege of having somebody drive by the property. Like, what is the point in that? Like, I understand if there's liability concern for the inspector getting on a ladder, but why is there even a permit for that then?
Okay. These are great questions. I appreciate you bringing them up, sir. Thank you.
I would like to sit down and talk about this.
Okay. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Hi, ma'am.
Hi. About the roundabout at Goslin and Sheffield, when there's a train, let me step back here. When the plan was actually started, I thought I read or saw somewhere in the plan that there were going to be 2 lanes coming in and 2 lanes going out, and then there was going to be a service road where people could go that lived on Dearborn or Grover or whatever. But there's only 1 lane going in and 1 lane going out of Illinois. When there's a train, you could be stuck in Illinois because you can't get around unless you get to Dearborn, because there's a light there, and I'm not really sure why that light is there. Then you can cut through the neighborhoods like many trucks do. So is there a possibility that we could put another lane going, at least coming into where the roundabout is? So you can't get around the roundabout. It's only 1 lane, and I thought that was supposed to be 2 lanes as well.
Dean?
So, ma'am, the project's not completed. Over the winter, so we can't get asphalt yet. Asphalt plants reopen, I think it was the 8th of April, is what I heard. And so when we put the final surface course of asphalt down, we'll restripe the road and you'll have 2 lanes in each direction. Coming from Sheffield to Chicago and the alternate movement, right? So northbound Sheffield to westbound Goslin and eastbound Goslin to southbound Sheffield, those will be 2 lanes in each direction.
So will the roundabout then have 2 lanes as well?
The roundabout, so
The inner and outer lane in the roundabout?
So what happens is you'll have 1 lane that exits onto Sheffield, and then you'll be able to enter the roundabout if you're in the left lane to go either straight or turn left.
But there is no left lane now, there's bricks.
But there will be, is what he's saying.
So you're
yeah.
going to change it then, is that what you're saying?
So you'll have they'll open up into 2 lanes, but you'll have to leave the roundabout right away if you're going to continue southbound on Sheffield. So
Well, at least you can get around.
give me a
the
little
train.
time, and it will be completed.
I will do that.
Yes,
and
thank you.
Just one more thing about the light on Dearborn. What was that put there for? Because the trucks are using it willingly.
So for the time being, we haven't activated the signal 100% because we don't have loop detection in, the detectors in the asphalt. We'll do that right before we put the surface down because we didn't want to damage the street.
And what is the light there for?
Well, so the light's really for the future. We intended on creating a transit-oriented development area where the new Gateway Station's going to the south, and so it was sort of a plan in the future to be able to come in and out of that south development, and it lined up well with Dearborn.
So the trucks that are using it freely,
Trucks should not be on Dearborn.
I know that.
Yeah, so that's an enforcement issue. Trucks are allowed on Sheffield, but not on Dearborn.
Right.
And they're not unless they're if they're to do local deliveries, they're allowed, right? If they're going to but if they're going to O'Day's, for example, then the truck would be allowed to go on the local street. But the truck route is designated on Sheffield. And we've, for the short period of time that we were under, well, for the long period of time that we were under construction, we had to accommodate truck turn movements for the time being. But PD has been gracious to up their enforcement now on 141st and Sheffield and Wabash, all those
Can
areas.
you put a no trucks sign coming north on Dearborn? There is one going south on Dearborn, but there's none coming north on
Sure,
Dearborn.
yeah, I mean, yep.
Not that
No
they
problem.
might look at them.
It's not a truck route, it's not a designated truck route, and so we can absolutely add signage.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, Mayor?
Yeah, thank you. Hi.
Hello.
Nice to see you.
The
Hesfield
lady
Viper?
up there was talking about the environmental protection, people coming into Valparaiso, I think she said.
That was
I
our
just hope
state representative, sir, yeah.
Excuse me?
That was our state representative. Yeah, she said that the person was going to be based out of Valparaiso.
Right. I just want to make sure everybody in this room knows that Mr. Novak has been going above and beyond the call of duty here, and he's probably should have been retired, and I cannot believe he's still doing it.
Don't say that,
I think
Anita.
everybody here should give him a hand.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Ron Novak has the most seniority of any employee in the city of Hammond. That's a fact. He's been with us. He could have retired a long time ago, and I'm thankful personally that he didn't, because he's the institutional knowledge that you need. In a lot of ways, like Stan Destotney was for the city of Hammond, like Ron is our Stan Destotney right now. And Stan was super valuable to us, institutional knowledge going back decades, and that's the role Ron fills for us besides what he does for HDEM. So thank you, Ron, for your service to our city. So. That was nice, sir. Thank you. Hi.
Sheffield and Goslin, they're putting a retention pond.
Yes,
Where-
that's a fight we're in,
What
disagreement.
corner is it going to be on?
We're arguing with them. Dean, could you talk a little bit about this? We're in an argument with Nick D over a couple things. The retention pond, because we think that where they want to put the retention pond on right by the roundabout is marketable property for us, and they want to put a retention pond there when we could put a retention pond someplace
Who wants
else.
to put this there?
Nick D.
Nick D. So if you can picture where the South Shore tracks cross Sheffield, right? When you're on the South Shore, it sort of makes a gentle right-hand turn and a left-hand. They're going to straighten that out, and the area that is removed from the old tracks, that's where they want to put the retention basin. And we're working with them to try to get them to put it back where they had indicated they were going to do it in the environmental impact statement that was approved by FTA.
We're fighting with them on another issue in the 4th District as well. Nick D's not being very nice to the city of Hammond, and they're treating us differently than they're treating the town of Munster. And I believe it's for economic reasons. I think it's, for them, it's easier to screw over Hammond than it is to screw over Munster, and I'm trying to make them realize that's not the case. So we're being difficult, and we're going to continue to be difficult until they listen to us, because we're in charge of this city, man. So that issue. Before I let you all go, I want to tell you that meetings like this are super tough, but I love being your mayor, and I apologize if I'm making you mad, and I apologize if I do things that upset you. I'm not trying to, you're my voters, you're my bosses. Sometimes I have to do things that I think are in the best interest of the city. So I apologize if you're walking out of here upset with your mayor. I just want to say I love being your mayor. I've always loved being your mayor, and and as far as Pulaski Park, I do want to see a transformational project there. And we do have $1.8 million set aside to do it. And that's a fact. So, when what? I mean, we have to decide what it's going to look like first. So that requires communication, and I'll be honest with you. The skateboard park that we built in Hessville is one of the most successful park projects we've done. It is spectacular. There's dozens and dozens of kids there right now at nighttime, in their bikes, on their skateboards. It's transformational. This is true. I agree with you, ma'am. Most senior citizens I know don't ride skateboards. So, we agree 100% on that. So,
and I will summarize the meeting and put it in the right stuff for the residents here. Thank you.
All right, I want to say thank you to everybody for coming Mayor's Night out in the 1st District. It's a Mayor's Night I will never forget, I promise. Take care, everybody. Love you all. Be safe driving home.